Hello and welcome to the big fight. 2010, the latter half of it was really dominated by one scam after the other. And then, just as this year started, the ghost from the past came back. Bofors, which had been such a major issue through the 80s and the 90s, in a sense returned. Now, the amounts, of course, are much smaller, but a very, very relevant case. And another really interesting coincidence, if you can call it that, just as the Income Tax Tribunal said that there was evidence that kickbacks had been paid to Vinod Chadha and to Ottavio Quattrocchi, the CBI the very next day says the case against Quattrocchi should be closed, and many people really raised their eyebrows on that. So on the big fight today, we're going to look at Bofors once again. A, is it still really relevant in this day and age? And B, the issues that have come from Bofors are still equally relevant now. Is the CBI and other investigative agencies systematically misused by governments? And if that happens, can people ever truly have faith that those who are guilty of corruption will be investigated and will be punished? So that substantially is what we're going to be discussing on the big fight. I'd like to welcome all our guests out here. Manish Tiwari, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Manish, you were probably a little kid when Bofors was broke, weren't you?
I was the president of the NSUI. National president of the NSUI.
Relevantly. Okay. Dr. Subramanian Swamy, president of the Janata Party, who had lots to say on Bofors and on other corruption scandals as well, such as 2G. So it's great to have you back with us. Mr. Joginder Singh, former director of the CBI, has done a lot of work on Bofors and on other cases. We are also going to be asking you, in a sense, to defend the CBI's track record and some of the charges, if you think it deserves to be defended at some point.
Certainly.
Tabreen Singh, it's a columnist and author. It's always a pleasure to have you with us here. Mukul Rohatgi, senior advocate of the Supreme Court. At the end of the day, people are to have, if you really want to do something about corruption, people have to have faith that the guilty will be eventually convicted in court. Doesn't seem to be happening. Why is that? D. Raja, National Secretary of the CPI, also joining us. Mr. Raja, thank you so much for joining us. And a little earlier, the BJP, of course, today is in Guwahati, but a little earlier I got the chance to speak to Arun Jaitley, who has done a lot of work on Bofors and on corruption in general. So I got a chance to speak to him. I'm going to actually start off first by playing you a little bit of my interview with Arun Jaitley and what he said a little earlier today on the question of Bofors and corruption.
I think the Bofors case is a test case of corruption in high places, because this is the only case in 63 years of independent India which reached the doorsteps of the Prime Minister's office. No other corruption case has reached as high as this one has. For 23 years, a party which was in power or whose supported governments were mostly in power made a continuous effort at cover-up, and various institutions, including erroneous judgments, unappealed judgments, were responsible for the cover-up.
Right. Arun, I had to ask you about the question of bringing Bofors and making it relevant today. The fact that no one's been really punished for that in all these years, does this somewhere make a point, give an indication to how cases might go in the future? Is it still relevant in terms of how cases of corruption are prosecuted, are chased, and how the investigation into them is done?
You see, it's shown a way that when powerful people or those connected with powerful people are again involved, institutions, including the CBI, can be subverted. And that subversion has been seen in many cases, and Bofors is a shining example of that.
Arun, the fact that the BJP obviously has, and the entire opposition has been on the offensive on the question of corruption in the last few months and on Bofors now for the last 25 years or so, why would you say that? I mean, it's not as if other parties aren't equally guilty. The BJP, for example, take Karnataka. Why do you think the Congress should be put in the dock more than anybody else on the question of corruption?
Well, the Congress has been more in power. The internal accountability in the Congress has always been far less. And more congressmen have obviously been involved in acts of corruption than any other political party. And it's therefore obvious that Congress is normally in the game of organizing these cover-ups.